everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Powerful Stuff, your one-stop shop for inner and outer connection. And I am coming at you Monday morning in LA, just back from a camping trip this weekend with a lot of fun friends where we did storytelling around the theme I never saw it coming. We learned different shades of each other's past identities, from college to early 20s to beyond, and did a heated game of fishbowl, or also known as bowl of nouns, some hiking, some swimming. And I was thinking about what I was going to do this week's Powerful Stuff episode on. There's still going to be, the ones that I didn't end up choosing. Have no fear. I'm still going to do them next week and the following. Little summer solstice one and one about slowing down. So watch this space. But and hearing about, the protests going on in LA with how ICE is treating immigrants, both like undocumented and documented, and how divisive the world is feeling right now, how we're all literally operating on different timelines. I thought I would do an episode on empathy and compassion, and how having empathy and compassion changes our world. It expands our world and helps create bridges instead of walls. And this isn't meant to be a super political episode. Obviously it was inspired by some of the events going on, but it's just kind of like my personal anecdote and some food for thought around how when we seek out other perspectives outside of our echo chamber, outside of people who grew up like us, who look like us, that's truly when our world shifts, grows, and heals. And we can get so caught up, especially in the self-development space. Self-development is an incredible world to be in, and doing the work and working on ourselves so we don't project our baggage onto others. But it's really just the first step, because once we do that self-development, if we just keep it within ourselves or for our own personal goal, it can become quite navel-gazing, and we can find ourselves feeling restless or constantly striving for the next step, or the next step after that, or the next step after that, and not feeling satisfied because we know we're not kind of connecting it to the larger picture of, humanity. And this also kind of makes me think of some of the zeitgeist that was going on in the spiritual community with a certain spiritual podcaster who said they got a message from spirit to impregnate two women. And I heard a lot of discourse on this as well, of when we are using spirit to claim like we're channeling a message, if it's not serving the greater good and it's just serving our own egoic desire, is that a spirit from source, or is that just our ego? And where does discipline, where does integrity come into the equation here? So I think that that's somewhat related, but the main points that I want to, get through is just a moment of reflection, of asking ourselves, regardless of who you voted for, how you feel about certain issues, do you try to seek situations each week, each month, where you are reading a news source from the other side of the algorithm, where you are talking to somebody or learning somebody's story who, you know, serves you your coffee or cuts your hair, or just somebody who comes from a completely different background as you? Do you put yourself into situations? Do you volunteer? Do you kind of seek out different perspectives on things, or hear other people's viewpoints with curiosity instead of judgment, or needing to defend your own viewpoint? And I think what we can do, and truly an advanced spiritual practice, in my opinion, is when we go beyond what we think we know, and needing to prove, needing to defend, needing to be right. And I've had to do so much work on this myself, as you guys might recall from some earlier pre-election episodes, where I had very different views from a person that I knew, and talked to my friend Shola Richards about how to talk to people on the other side of the aisle. And without being like, I can't believe you believe this, are you crazy? But with curiosity, trying to get to the core of their values, and just to listen, because over time, how we change hearts and minds is by listening, by making people not feel ashamed, by trying to understand them so they don't dig their heels into their viewpoint even more. And when we're seeing so many different instances of, basic human rights being violated in different parts of the country and in different ways, it's can we put our differences aside, because the only way to kind of work toward healing, work toward actually making change, is to try to connect with people who think differently than us on solving some of these issues from the ground up. And this is kind of a off the cuff episode, if you will. I've dedicated my whole life, and I can definitely even do better living here in Venice. Like, I've dedicated my whole life to trying to understand different perspectives and people from different viewpoints, or just different ways of life than myself. In high school, I volunteered at a safe house for immigrants in Houston, and I learned all of their stories of how they got here, what their struggles are, how they get integrated into the U.S., and met a ton of friends from all over when I was at Harvard, who had very, very different backgrounds coming from all parts of the world. We're the first person in their family to even go to college, let alone Harvard. And so at Harvard, I founded Harvard Speaks, which is kind of like TED Talks, of getting to hear these incredible students and their journey to making it to, one of the top institutions in the world, just from like their grit and will of like where they came from and how that shaped them. And then I've spent time like volunteering at an orphanage in Honduras, and working in the favelas in Rio ahead of the World Cup and the Olympics, and learning their stories and how these government decisions were affecting them. And then, dedicated most of college and my grad school to African studies and understanding the impacts of colonialism and structural racism in these different societies, and, how different African countries have evolved, post independence from their colonial powers that once ruled them. And yeah, trying to just understand the complexities of the world, even when I don't feel like I am an authority to speak on anything, just like continuing to ask more and more questions, asking my host families of the places that I lived, writing my undergraduate and graduate theses on. My undergraduate thesis was on bilingual education in Mozambique, like Portuguese versus mother tongue learning, because Portuguese was the language of the colonizer, and mother tongue was, there are many different native languages in Mozambique. And so anyways, and then my graduate thesis was on Cape Verde, or Cabo Verde, which is another island nation in West Africa, and transnationalism through music in Cape Verde, because there's a lot of Cape Verdeans who live outside of Cape Verde, and they have this word, this idea of saudade, or this longing, nostalgia for the future, because which is so present in all of their songs and in their national identity. So all of that's to say, like, those are kind of like the ways that I've kind of had this background of seeking to understand different perspectives. And then within moving back to California, I've noticed that I can get in the bubble of Venice, even though Los Angeles itself is an incredibly, huge and diverse city with so many different pockets and so many different, cultural histories and ways to kind of understand and connect with other people. And it's something that I feel like very aware of now that I'm in this chapter of living in Venice and doing work that I love in the self-development space, but also continuing to ask and challenge myself of like, how can I continue to keep that close to my heart? And stuff that I've been doing in Venice, or not just in Venice, but yeah, stuff that I've been doing on like a small scale is like, I ordered my husband and I this publication called The Week magazine, where you read both the left, the right, and the center columnists and publications. It's like a weekly magazine digest where you get multiple perspectives from multiple different sides of the aisle, and we read that every week. And that's kind of our way of catching up on the news, but also getting it from understanding like what the whole different sides are saying. And then once every week or two, I'll try to listen to something that's on a different viewpoint of like what I believe, just going into it with curiosity of how these people develop their viewpoint, just trying to understand. And I, not gonna lie, not perfect, do get a little triggered listening to these sometimes. And then I try to seek out different like narratives, memoirs, books of, people who just come from a different background than me. And I'm trying to understand. And I've definitely had to amp this up. There's definitely times where I feel like I'm kind of in my own world, which we all go through those seasons. But long story short, this is kind of just my little background of it. Oh, and the other thing that I do is have these storytelling dinners where everyone tells a story around a prompt, and we kind of find common ground through that that prompt and in people's interpretation of it. But I think now more than ever is like a really powerful time to look toward compassion and empathy. And if we notice ourselves judging someone, being like, what could this actually say about me? Or where might I actually have a blind spot if I am being honest, or am I getting the full picture? And kind of going through almost like we're our own or not our own devil's advocate, but we're playing devil's advocate for the other side of challenging our own blind spots or beliefs, or like, um, do I know where this thing is coming from, or why it's showing up this way? Have I talked to somebody who's experienced this? Like, if I'm judging this, like, have I spoken to somebody or asked them their story who's actually gone through it firsthand? And I think just having this awareness, like, and being able to connect without having the intention of trying to change somebody's mind, but just literally to understand, that's when we begin to heal. And that's when we stop like otherizing each other. And that's also, I think, when we find a deep richness and connection to our own purpose. Ironically, it's not by fully like diving in the navel diving in the navel gazing, but actually like using our healing work on ourselves to then further our understanding with others, because we can only empathize with others to the extent that we've allowed ourselves to feel our own emotions, our own shame, anger, regret, remorse, happiness, joy. So, I mean, step one is always, as my friend Alex Keller said on her Instagram today, step one is always regulating our own nervous system, like taking care of ourselves first. And then once we do that, like reaching out, extending a hand, seeking to understand, challenging either our own beliefs or just learning another story. We don't even have to like be like, I need to prove myself wrong, but rather I want to expand my perception of things. And when we're able to relate to more people, actually, like even in a very unselfish way, it's going to help you achieve a lot of your goals of expanding like your business or feeling into your purpose, because people want to be around other people who are more authentic, who are more compassionate, who really listen, who ask the follow-up questions, who seek to understand them. So even if you're like, well, I don't really feel the need to go down this political divide, or I want to just stick to my own little community, I actually think with whatever personal goals you have, it's going to do nothing but further those. And it's an interesting conundrum. It's an interesting place that we're in right now. And my deep hope and wish is that, as these protests are going on in LA and people, might be like judging in whatever way, shape, or form, it's like, have you talked to somebody who's been impacted by immigration? Have you talked to somebody whose family has gone through this? Like, after all, America is founded, um, like, as a nation of immigrants. We all immigrated here. The only people who are native here are the Native Americans. And so having that compassion, understanding, and curiosity before we jump to like the most sensationalized headlines. And so I know this was kind of more just a little morning TED talk, if you will, guys, but let's just close our eyes and we'll do a brief meditation to center and return to curiosity. So closing your eyes, taking a deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. Another deep breath in. Exhale, sigh it out. And then third and deepest breath in. And as you exhale, just coming into the issue or the thing that maybe you feel like you have your own viewpoint around. Noticing where you feel it in your body. Starting to breathe with it and just imagining like your younger self kind of holding fast to this issue. And just asking them, why they're holding so deeply to this certain side or belief. And keep asking them as they answer, and why is that? And why is that? Allowing it to go deeper and deeper into their understanding of where it might have come from or what happened in their life to make it feel so set in stone. And then asking them if they're willing to expand their heart to let more love in. And to start to shift the ratio from fear to love. Imagine breathing this golden light into your heart, into their heart, beginning to soften them. And as this golden light helps cover and penetrate all that's around you and them, imagining them softening and both of you looking at the issue and seeing maybe the other people that you judged on the other side of this issue. And as you see them, staring through them and seeing their own inner child, their own younger self. And asking them, why are they holding on to that part of the belief? What do they fear? What are they trying to protect? Whether you agree with them or not, just seeing their scared inner child or their inner child holding on to it for whatever reason. And then asking them, and why is that? And why is that? And why is that? And then finally asking them if they're willing to receive some of your love and understanding, even if you still don't agree. And imagine sending them this love from your heart with a deep compassion, deep empathy for their perspective and experience. And imagine it creating this bridge between you of understanding, or this common ground to start on. Feeling you both soften to put the weapons down. And imagining this light, this path forward, even if it's not fully clear yet, of how it begins to soften, to shape the way forward, feeling more powerful from the inside out as you have this understanding and love. Feeling yourself, feel that love, sending it to them, and feeling it create ripple effects around the world, touching your friends and family, their friends and family, the friends and family of them, the friends and family of your friends and family, until the whole world is lit up. With this curiosity, with this compassion, with this love, take a deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. And then another deep breath in. And exhale, open your eyes, coming back into this space. Maybe just making a note of one thing that you could see from the other side, from the other perspective, or one question you could ask, or someone you could reach out to for a conversation, or something you could read, but just one action that you could take to help create this bridge of understanding, even if it starts with you seeking a different perspective, knowing that you don't have to change your mind. The goal is just to understand. And all of this to say, guys, I know I shared some of my story. I am far from perfect. I'm always striving to understand in these different areas, and I'm always hesitant and, aware of my own background and privilege as I go into kind of discussions of trying to understand different viewpoints. I'm always trying to do my best. So if you listen to this episode and you have ideas, for me, I definitely want to hear. I'm always all ears. My biggest goal and hope is that we can create a more empathetic and compassionate world, one conversation at a time. And let me know how this goes for you, what you do to do that, to step out of your own bubble or echo chamber and create that space and understanding. And I will see you hopefully at Best Morning Ever this coming Friday at 7:30 in Venice, and next week for more powerful stuff. Hey, you. Thank you for coming on this powerful journey with me. I hope it was as powerful for you as it was for me. And if it was, it would mean the world to me if you rate, review, and subscribe to Powerful Stuff so I can keep bringing you the goods. We can keep going on this transformative journey together. And if there's powerful stuff that you want to share with me, with the Powerful Stuff community, tag us on Instagram at That's Powerful Stuff or the Meredith Baker. And I look forward to seeing you next week for more powerful stuff.